Have you ever wondered what it would be like if some of the well-known Disney princes that we all grew up with ended up at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry? Well, if you have, you won't have to wait much longer. Here are 14 Disney princes sorted into their respective Hogwarts house. Now, it's important to note that there aren't many official princes in the Disney universe, so the term prince in this case refers to the princely role that the characters played in each of their films. Number 14, Prince Naveen from The Princess and the Frog. The Sorting Hat would have no problem determining that Naveen belonged in the Ravenclaw house. Throughout Princess and the Frog, Naveen showed that he was quick on his feet, allowing him and Tiana to escape from the frog catchers in the bayou in the first half of the film. This sort of thinking outside the box, paired with his creativity and love for music, which was shown at the beginning of the movie, makes Naveen the perfect Ravenclaw. Prince Naveen would take full advantage of the house's emphasis on creativity, and his natural charm would serve him well in all of his classes. Number 13, Prince Charming from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. If the prince from Snow White were to walk through the doors of Hogwarts as a student, there's a very good chance he would find himself wearing the robes of a Hufflepuff. Hufflepuffs are known for their loyalty and their kind-hearted nature, and though the prince is absent through most of Snow White, he seems to fit all of those qualities. Throughout Snow White, the prince is known for showing his dedication to the commitment that he made to Snow White and the love that they shared. The prince also went through a lot of trouble to save Snow White with True Love's Kiss, which could easily be seen as him valuing hard work like most Hufflepuffs do. Number 12, Prince Eric from The Little Mermaid. If Prince Eric ever enrolled at Hogwarts, he'd be saying hi to Harry, Ron, and all of your favorite Gryffindors, because that's exactly where the Sorting Hat would place him. Gryffindors are known for their courage in the face of adversity, their daring nature, and their chivalry. Eric is the embodiment of all of these traits. Not only was he extremely kind to Ariel when he took care of her at a time when she was nothing but a stranger to him, but he's also a sailor. And I'm sorry, but you can't face the open seas and not have some kind of special courage in your heart, especially in a world that practically acknowledged the existence of Triton. That being said, Eric was also shown to be a bit reckless, which is probably what landed him in the water at the beginning of The Little Mermaid in the first place. But guess what? Recklessness is another common trait among members of Gryffindor. Number 11 is Aladdin from Disney's Aladdin. If Prince Ali ever made his way from Agrabah to Hogwarts, he might find himself thrown into the Ravenclaw house. Aladdin is a Disney character that is known for being especially cunning. Growing up on the streets without any parents meant that Aladdin had to develop a certain level of wit and resourcefulness just to survive. Well, the same wit that he used to constantly outsmart the Sultan's guards would be the very trait that would see the Sorting Hat yell out Ravenclaw when placed upon Aladdin's head. Aladdin also showed that he could adapt to solve complex problems and come out ahead, like when he got tricked by Jafar into entering the cave. Instead of giving Jafar the lamp, which surely would have cost Aladdin his life, he figured out a way out of the cave while keeping the lamp and gaining a magic carpet along the way. If that's not Ravenclaw material, I don't know what is. Number 10 is Hercules from Disney's Hercules. It's not hard to guess that Hercules would most likely end up in the Gryffindor house with a lot of other heroic wizards. I mean, Hercules was literally a hero. That was the whole point of his story. He had to learn to be strong, courageous, determined, and daring. He displayed all of those traits as he took on the Hydra monster and everything else that Hades threw at him. Not to mention his chivalrous attitude toward Meg and his overall strong moral compass throughout the movie definitely screamed Gryffindor. Much like other Gryffindors though, Hercules was also known to be reckless with his strength, like when he destroyed the entire market at the beginning of the movie. Even though he was trying to do the right thing, it was still reckless. Number 9, John Smith from Disney's Pocahontas. Before I proceed, it's important to note that not all Slytherins are created evil. I only say this because if John Smith had gone to Hogwarts, he would have probably been placed in Slytherin with the rest of the Dark Witches and Wizards. The traits that would make Smith a great candidate for Slytherin is his cunning and ambitious nature. The man sailed across the open sea for glory and to get his name plastered on the New World. Yes, his mind and heart changed after meeting Pocahontas, but that doesn't change the fact that his personality fits that of a Slytherin. Only he would be one of the relatively normal ones. He's like the blonde, better-looking version of Severus Snape. Number 8 is Kristoff from Disney's Frozen. At first glance, you might think that Kristoff belongs in Gryffindor, but in reality, the Sorting Hat would most likely place him in Hufflepuff. Hufflepuffs are typically seen as underdogs in the Harry Potter universe, but when it comes down to it, they're described as being dependable and reliable. These two traits certainly characterize Kristoff. He hardly knew Anna, yet he offered to help her find Elsa when she ran off in the first movie. And then after falling in love, Disney showed us that he would do anything to keep her happy. This sort of loyalty just screams Hufflepuff. Kristoff's a hero in his own way, but what makes him a Hufflepuff instead of a Gryffindor is that he doesn't try to be a hero. He's just being the kind of guy that he is. Number 7. Prince Philip from Disney's Sleeping Beauty. Prince Philip would most likely end up in the Gryffindor house during his time at Hogwarts, simply based on his heroic character. In a way, Philip perfectly embodies what it means to be a Gryffindor. Throughout Sleeping Beauty, Prince Philip bravely faces Maleficent and all of her dark magic to save Princess Aurora. And you have to remember, he was just a normal guy. Sure, he was a prince, but he didn't have special powers, magic, or even a special weapon to take on the evil enchantress. Philip showed multiple times during the rescue of the princess that he was not afraid to risk his own safety for the greater good, which, of course, makes him the perfect Gryffindor. Number 6. Prince Henry from Disney's Cinderella. If Prince Henry were a wizard, he would have likely been placed into Ravenclaw. Students who are put into Ravenclaw House tend to be very independent, and if you remember, Prince Henry didn't want to get married at first in the movie. It wasn't until he met Cinderella that he even considered the idea of partnering up with someone else. Not to mention that his wit and intelligence was shown at the end of the movie when he used Cinderella's glass slipper to find her, despite numerous girls trying to trick him. In a world without Facebook, the prince had to work extra hard to track down his future bride, and that required the keen intelligence of a Ravenclaw. Number 5. Li Shang from Disney's Mulan. Shang might have been as fierce as a dragon, but he had the heart of a Gryffindor, which is exactly where he would have been if he was a wizard. Li Shang was a general in the Emperor's army, and there were countless times in Mulan that he showed the leadership skills to back up that title. Well, being a strong leader is one of the qualities that many great Gryffindors have. Plus, Shang showed his fearlessness and courage in the face of danger when the Hun attacked China. And like most Gryffindors, Shang could be hot-headed, especially around his soldiers. But that's what they needed, and what would make him a classic Gryffindor. Number 4 is Tarzan from Disney's Tarzan. Although I'm sure that Tarzan would make a great Ravenclaw, if he was in Hogwarts, the Sorting Hat likely would have placed him in Hufflepuff. Even though Tarzan was the hero of the story, he was certainly the underdog in his pack of gorillas. This fits the common traits of members of the Hufflepuff house. That being said, he was also shown to be very reliable and loyal to the bone. He literally turned his back on most of the human race to stay with his Silverback family. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing, because he absolutely made the right decision, but it also shows how loyal he was to the creatures that raised him, making Tarzan a great example of a Hufflepuff. Number 3 is Simba from Disney's The Lion King. This should come as no surprise to you, but if Simba was an animagus wizard and lived at Hogwarts, he would have likely been a Gryffindor. Not just because he's a lion, and a griffin is technically part lion. No, Simba would make a great Gryffindor because of his bravery. He needed to be brave to face his past and the uncle who had convinced Simba that he killed his father. Not to mention his reckless attitude that made it so easy for Scar to trick the young cub in the first place. Overall, I think Simba would have made a great addition to the Gryffindor house. Number 2 is Emperor Kuzco from The Emperor's New Groove. Now, Kuzco would have most likely been placed in Slytherin if he had gone to Hogwarts. Not because he was evil though, no. Kuzco exhibits some of the worst traits that a Slytherin can have without being evil. He's power hungry and has an ego that puts himself above everybody else. This was made clear when he almost forced Pacha to move his family just so he could have the perfect pool location. As you know though, Kuzco was just out of touch with reality, and even though he was kind of a jerk, he would only be in Slytherin because of his greedy attitude. Number 1 is Flynn Rider from Disney's Tangled. If Flynn were to ever sneak his way into Hogwarts like he did that castle in Corona, he would be placed in the Ravenclaw house. Flynn was as cunning as they came in Tangled, but he wasn't evil by any means. He may have stolen the crown to sell for a high price, but he only did that in hopes of paying off his dream and retiring in luxury. So I think his sharp mind would make him a Ravenclaw rather than a cunning Slytherin. Flynn is also creative and even based his entire persona on his favorite childhood storybook character. Flynn might not have had the heart of a Gryffindor, but he would soar high as a Ravenclaw. What do you think of the house placement for each of these princes? Were they accurately placed? Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below.